Hey there, Emily and the
Marie,
general public.
this is
So
so fun.
it's so fun. I'm so excited about today's conversation. Frankly, I'm excited about most conversations, but this one in particular, I'm super pumped about since Emily and I locked the date down a few weeks ago. If you are new to me on LinkedIn or my YouTube channel or good old Facebook, my name is Maureen. I'm a nonprofit digital strategist and technology coach. And just about every Friday afternoon, I do a live streaming session to talk about nonprofit technology topics that you can understand. You could actually use that advice. This is a pretty jargon-free zone. And so today we are going to spend some time with my dear, dear pal. We go way back, Emily Goodstein of Greater Good Strategy. Emily, how are you this fine Friday afternoon?
I'm so happy to be hanging out with you, Maureen. This is the highlight of my week. And we've had a gem-filled fun week, but this ending was a bang for sure. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I cannot wait to hear your pearls of wisdom because I learn something every single time I talk to you. So let's get into it. You want to do a little intro of yourself, Emily, and your business? Sure, people
Sure.
are
I'm
interested.
Emily. I'm a Taurus. Um, I live in
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., and I am the founder and CEO of a digital marketing agency called Greater Good Strategy. Get it? Goodstein, Good Strategy. We've been around for almost 3 years. Our third birthday is coming up in November, and we're a full service digital marketing agency helping nonprofits thrive online.
Who could want any more from a career? I mean, really, you want nonprofits to raise money, stick around, get stronger, have good work-life balance from their staff, all these things that are hard to come by sometimes, especially right now. And the topic that we're going to chat about, although you and your team have expertise in a variety of diverse and really important strategic digital communication and engagement areas, we're going to focus on welcome series, otherwise known as a journey, right? You could call it a journey, you could call it for email messages, you could call it a series. It's all talking about the same thing, helping bring certain segments of your audience into a deeper relationship with your organization. And these are not new. Emily, when's the first time you remember thinking about welcome series or setting them up?
Maybe 12 to 15 years ago. It's definitely not like a shiny new fancy trendy thing, which is kind of why I love it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
class.
it's solid, it's strategic, it's stuck around. I don't even think Facebook was like a thing when welcome series were first experimented with. And I think they came from businesses, right? Like businesses do that. They send a lot of email, and nonprofits sometimes are a little late to the game. When you think about what a welcome series is, and let's just use that terminology like all the way through our chat. What's a welcome series, Emily?
To me, it is a series of automated emails
Yep.
that helps new folks on your email list feel welcomed. No one wants to feel like they've just been dropped into an email list that necessitates all kinds of previous information about how your organization functions or your annual traditions that no one's really explained. I always use the example, I'm the youngest child in my family. I don't like anyone to feel left out. And therefore, I want to make sure that everyone on my email list feels properly welcomed and not left out, and no assumptions made that you have any pre-existing knowledge of the way we function or how we fundraise or what our mission is or how to get involved. So the welcome series kind of solves all of those questions and really eases someone sort of onto your list. And then the beautiful sort of secret other side of this is when someone proactively joins your list, they are also more likely to want to sort of get involved around that same time. So it's a nice way to kind of capitalize on that little window of more likely to want to maybe make a gift or take an action or share on social.
Yeah, the principle here is about, are these my people? And I think about all the work that nonprofit teams put into finding folks who are going to sign up for their email list, putting content together and pushing it out to their list, and acquiring new supporters, that it's sort of a silly thing to skip, right? It's like, let's just make sure that this cord is really a tightly woven cord at the beginning of
For
the
sure.
relationship.
I also find that it's relatively low cost to create. It doesn't take a ton of time to write. I mean, the emails we're talking about that are part of this automated series, maybe we're talking about 3 or 4. I mean, to do it well, we want to put some strategy and time into the content, but it doesn't really take a ton of time at the end of the day compared to other tactics that we might be recommending. And most email tools that folks are using can withstand a welcome series or have that kind of automated email functionality already kind of baked in. I like it because it's just kind of this low-hanging fruit. It's almost like if we kick the tires, we go in and do kind of like a mini audit and look at, what's working, what's not working. This is one of the things I often look for. And if it's not in place, it's often one of our first recommendations because we find that the payoff is really good. People, whether or not there's a ton of donations that come in, we just feel like the people that are welcomed onto the list properly are going to stick around for a longer time. They might make more donations. They might take more actions. And at the end of the day, it's relatively simple for what you get from doing it.
Yeah, and it can feel like a one-to-one kind of, hey, Emily, thanks for joining our list. And here's some things about us, and we want to know some things about you. It feels personal. Our supporters, no matter whether they're straight up donors or peer-to-peer fundraising participants or subscribers, they really expect that someone at your organization is watching, like, and paying it. You liked a social media post, hooray. And so this can, generate that sort of one-to-one experience when truly you set it up once and everybody kind of gets a lot of the same stuff.
Totally. That's the great thing about it, right? You put in a small amount of time at the beginning to build it and to put the content together. And then it really, in most situations, it's a kind of set it and forget it structure. There's a few kind of moments within an organizational life cycle, maybe, at the beginning of a global health crisis, that we recommended folks kind of go back and retool some of the welcome series content. But most of the time, if you're thoughtful about the content, and we can talk a little bit more about kind of some general recommendations around what the email pieces will say, but if you're thoughtful when you're building it, it doesn't really need a ton of care and feeding. So I just love it because you set it up once, you don't have to really do a lot to it. It makes people feel more welcomed. It gives people a super personalized experience, and it has the potential to result in really amplifying the impact of the rest of your communications. So all boats rise, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's correct. So I'm here to say, yes, your opinion is correct. So you do a lot of audits. That's part of sort of some of your packages in your onboarding with new organizational teams. How many do you have a gut check as to how many have these things set up for an audience or another?
I would say like 50% of the organizations that hire us have a welcome series set up, and the other 50% just have it on their list and haven't had time to install it yet, or don't know what to say, or haven't watched this presentation. It's the type of thing that's on the to-do list, but it just kind of gets pushed and pushed and pushed, which is one of the reasons that I really wanted to talk about it here. Sometimes you need that like artificial or third-party push to really make this be the top of the list. It's the type of project that maybe can be done like during a slower time. But is that even a time that we ever experience a slower time? But I think if we can even create an artificial deadline of like, before Giving Tuesday arrives, we're going to want to make sure that welcome series is in place, because the rest of all of these efforts that we're taking to get the word out and to build the list are going to be magnified and more valuable if you have this one thing in place. I was speaking to a client yesterday who said, I'm really excited about this fundraising campaign we've been talking about, but I made a promise to myself that before we go out the door with it, we're going to get the welcome series in place first.
Gold star client. That's awesome. That's like A++. And
right.
I love that connection of, if you don't have one, and maybe you've got one for an audience, but not new donors or not donors who maybe, whatever your little container of people is, plan it and set it up as part of your end of year planning. You're already writing a ton of emails.
Yep.
you're already setting stuff up, hopefully, so that there's a little suppression happening when people give. So it's a really great time to just add it in. You're going to be pulling a weekend maybe between now and November 10th or something like that to try to get it all together. So what's your best advice for what these messages should contain? Let's focus on content first, and then we'll talk about timing.
Sure. And I think sometimes the content piece that's why it gets pushed to the bottom of the to-do list, because people feel like, oh, it's going to be automated. It's like a tattoo on my face. I have to make sure it's amazing for everyone. But we are going to, I think right now, let's just like crack the code of the content. The first message is not that complicated. It's thanks for being here. We're so happy that you've signed up, or we're so happy. I'm going to really focus for the purposes of content on folks that are new to the email list, because I think let's use that formula, and then we can kind of use that as the base for every other type of welcome series. Okay. We're so happy you're here. Thanks for giving us your email address. Mm-hmm. Maybe the message is from an executive director or the board chair. I would love it to feature maybe a photograph of the person that the email is from, if folks feel comfortable with that. It does not need to be long. In my opinion, it's really just a moment of thank you. Some organizations choose, if you want to learn more about our upcoming programs or events, or if you want to take a look at our origin story, or maybe there's a very kind of soft call to action that allows people to have a tiny deeper dive into what your organization is up to. That's one option for that first message. Some other organizations have a totally different flavor, which is, thanks for giving us your email address. Make a donation today, which is also a totally legitimate option depending on the spirit of your fundraising. I think the reason that people choose to do that more aggressive fundraising push in the thank you message is somebody just gave their email address. We're going to capitalize on the moment. They're thinking about us. We're front of mind. Let's go big. If they haven't made a gift already, chances of them making a gift quickly after joining the email list maybe are a little higher. So those are two different flavors of that first message. What do you think, Maureen? Have you seen other options?
I agree. And, I think email subscribers, you need to think about that autoresponder that goes out as message one. Maybe that's how I think about it. Is you need to be super welcoming. You might want a video in that thing. You want to say, you have found your people. We're so glad you're here. So that first message you already have, because it's, I assume, because you've got an autoresponder that confirms that somebody signed up. And if you've got a double opt-in, you've got people have to click that link to confirm that they're actually, yes, I want to be part of your list. Somebody didn't just pop my email in and run away. So I think those autoresponders, if you go back and think of them as message one in a series, that can help you not feel like you have to write 16 messages for these things. And that's not what we're advising. This is not a heavy message stream at all. So that's message one, and that's usually immediate. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, I've done the thing and here comes message one.
Yep.
What's message two? This is where I feel people get stumped, is like, all right, I've already told them stuff about me. They're getting my newsletter. What else can I do?
Sure. So this is just my personal opinion. Doesn't have to be, it's not set in stone. But one thing I've seen that I like is that second message often has another kind of soft call to action about social media. Mm-hmm. If you even want to get creative, you can have that message be from the social media manager. So, hey, I'm Shannon. I manage the social feeds for the Shannon Foundation. If you want to stay up to date on what we're doing, we would love for you to follow us on Instagram. Here's the link. And it feels like, oh, I'm getting to know the staff of this organization. And also they're inviting me to keep in touch with them. And the other reason I like that is because it is an immediate opportunity to unlock another channel. So if we can we've already unlocked email. If we can unlock another channel and engage with a potential supporter in another way, or maybe a few other ways, the social follow ask is a nice sort of next step. And it also is by definition a place where people are going to look for things that are current. Yeah. So it sort of makes your welcome series, without you having to do anything different, have current information in it.
I am right there with you in lockstep. That would be my recommendation too. How spooky. We didn't even plan this, that we were going to say like, yes, that's it. Love the idea of having a real person be the sender of one or all of these messages. I would also say put some images in, like pop something from your Insta feed in there, or if you're a TikTok org, have a little sample of what someone might see when they hop over to that channel. So there's a little bit of here's what you're going to get, and people feel like it's not a waste of time. I know what I'm going to see when I get over there, and I want more of this.
Totally. And that I don't want that to be, if your social presence is not worthy of being in the welcome series, I don't want that to be a deterrent. There's plenty of other things we can put in that second message. Another option that I really love is sort of like a why we do this work. And maybe it's a story. It's kind of like your hallmark story or the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. And maybe there's an image that goes along with the people that are affected by your mission. And it's really easy to start that message. Like, I'm often asked why I've devoted my career to this issue. And I do it for Rachel. And then it's Rachel's story. And you can sort of close out. If you want to learn more about why, we're supporting families like Rachel's, click here. And it probably is content that you've written other places. So it doesn't need to be a net new message. It's maybe content that can be adapted from a grant proposal or last year's end of year campaign or something. It doesn't need to be totally brand new, but the second email is we can be a little bit more flexible because I have strong feelings about the third email.
All right, we'll get to your feelings in a second, lady. What I'll layer onto that is reuse your content, reuse your content, reuse your content. Go back and see what your highest performing messages were. And I know in this example, we're talking about new subscribers. They haven't seen any of it. So it's all new to them. But even if your audience for a series is different and they've been getting your stuff, they don't remember that you wrote this in October of 2019. If it's still relevant, recycle that stuff. That's what makes it so valuable when you're sweating over it to begin with. Just like look back and grab some high performing content and see if that works for you.
Sometimes clients will push back on that, which is a legitimate thing to push back on. And I say, what's your open rate? What's your click rate? And until it's 100%, I can guarantee you that most people are not seeing all your content.
Sorry, that's not how it works. Okay, so that was message 2. Give me your message 3. What's that all about for you?
Okay,
and your
so
client?
I am of the mind that the first email is that just confirmation, thanks for joining, super welcoming. So I actually like the third email to be a fundraising ask. I think about it actually as kind of like the crest of a wave. So the first message is like the beginning, and the second message is like the middle of the crest. And then the third email is really where we're coming to that ask. We've been building up to it, and now it's the moment. So we're not treating our list like an ATM. We are welcoming them. We're having a nice conversation. There's an interactive component about social media. They feel personal. They feel personal connection. And then it's an appropriate time. You've warmed up your audience. It's an appropriate time to make an ask. And chances are, if they just join the email list, there's a reason why they're interested in your organization. And it is a nice time to say, here's what your gift goes to. We really thank you for lending your name to our cause or our community. Here's a way you can continue to support us. And it doesn't need to be really fancy. It can actually be, it's the first time that this person has been asked for money because they will have been suppressed if they've already made a gift. And it generally can just be a really nice, basic, plain, but best practice filled ask.
I love that. Would you say that they should go to a special donation form? Would you advise your clients to ask for a lower dollar amount or ask for sustainers in that first ask?
Okay. I love a sustainer ask. I don't necessarily, I think I would say it depends on the situation. I probably wouldn't recommend a dollar amount at this point.
Like just an open gift amount on the form?
I wouldn't recommend a dollar amount in the email.
Oh, got it. Yes. I'm talking about the donation form, though. Yeah.
On the donate form, I think that probably is if you're looking at best practices of your gift amounts in the past, and you've sort of done for your general donate form, you've done the work to figure out, okay, we're going to have these are the typical amounts that our usual first-time individual donors are coming in at. I just always worry when we are dictating an amount that we're just like selling ourselves short. And so I like to always keep the options open, that, you may get that 4-figure surprise gift. But the donate form best practice amounts are their own sort of bit of research, I think, in your donor history. So that will have been settled in your general form. I don't really think if an organization has the ability to build a special form, I love that idea. But if you are that small, scrappy team, I think it's don't let building a special form come in the way. Better to have a welcome series and send people to your general donate form than let the perfect first-time donor welcome series form be an obstacle.
And so let's talk about timing, because I think the content stymies people a little bit. What's the right order? What's the right stuff to send? MailChimp, Constant Contact, My Emma, Blackbaud, Every Action, Charity Engine, Virtuous, Keela, Kindful, Bloomerang, Pause. Okay, I could tell you 1,000 of these products. They all have the ability for you to put someone in a stream and have them get timed messages. You might need to upgrade your MailChimp account or your Constant Contact account in order to get that functionality. But man, you will not just use it on this. You should use it in a lot of ways. Emily, what's the timing? How much is too much? How far apart is too far apart?
I knew you were going to ask me this question, and I feel personally conflicted.
Okay.
So I do not have data to support this. I just want to be clear. I think more than 7 days is too much, and I think 1 day is too little. We have some clients that do the 7 days. So, you sign up on Monday and then Monday. I think that that's fine. Personally, that would feel like a lot of time between the messages for me and the way my inbox looks. I also think that like 1 day apart feels totally overwhelming and your people are going to sort of get angry. So we usually recommend somewhere between like the 3 and 6 day range, testing that, seeing what happens. Is it working? Are you getting a lot of people responding and saying that you're spamming them? Are you getting some unsubscribes there? If you are, then you can sort of lengthen it a little bit. But I don't want so much time to go by that somebody has forgotten why they joined your list. And most of our inboxes are competing for real estate with every organization that's sending out more and more emails. So we don't want to stretch it out too long. So I would say somewhere between the 3 and 6 days, but also doing some testing to determine, are you getting bad results from that? Are people feeling angry? If you are getting a lot of like immediate unsubscribes, then you can lengthen a little bit.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I think that the 20-ish days, 17-ish days in there is great. So if somebody takes the first action, they get the autoresponder that's effusive thanks and welcome. Give them 3 days. That way it's not so far that they're like, why are they sending? Oh, right, I did sign up with that email list. So there's a little bit of context and nobody wants to get spammed. So padding 4 days, 5 days in between these messages gets people in and out of that cycle quickly enough that they've got context for how the messages flow. But it's also not, why are they still welcoming me? I've been on their list for 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. I know why I joined. Thanks. I'm familiar with your origin story.
I've gotten 27 appeals and five e-newsletters, and now I'm finally getting a thank you message. We've got a question from Stephanie Myers, who pops in so frequently. Stephanie, it's so great to see you. How different is a welcome series for a first-time donor as opposed to an email list joiner? So I will just say in the chat, Stephanie, I popped in a link to my new donor welcome series planning worksheet. It's like 4 pages long and lets you plan it all out and decide the scheduling and the sender and all of that. Emily, obviously you don't want to ask them immediately, but I think you want to do the same thing. Effusive thanks and welcome. Here's a little bit about us. Follow us on social or more good content. Would you follow it up with an ask at the end of that series? I think that's the crux here for new donors.
Oh, I totally would.
I would too.
I mean, if you don't ask, then you don't get donations. We can't be scared to ask. And even if you don't necessarily get a donation, it doesn't have to be a super hard ask. It could be sort of like more of a softer, here's where your gift goes. The gift that you made earlier is already being put to use in these impactful ways. You could also consider a sustaining donation ask at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I love the sustaining donation ask because it's, again, a set it and forget it, for the same reason I love the welcome series. So if it doesn't feel too pushy for the culture of your organization, you may float that idea by folks and say, you've made one gift. We're so glad to have you in our donor community. If you're interested, we have this other wonderful opportunity to support our organization. And here are the special things you get when you come into our exclusive club with sustaining donors. And if that feels too aggressive, then I think another single donation ask, but also keep it soft. So talking about the impact of the first gift and then maybe really tying it to additional impact of the second gift.
Yeah, I am, again, we are in lockstep, right? I got to bring somebody on that I disagree with sometimes.
Yeah, head to head.
We're like so aligned on this. I think the only other thing that I would do, Stephanie, and it's in the worksheet, is I might try to collect some information from a new donor, their interests, maybe build a little MailChimpy survey that people can go to, and then you can record, I'm a cat person, I'm a dog person, I'm interested in gender equality, I'm interested in education, on the record, and you can use that in the future to kind of personalize and conditionalize other content that you might be sending them, if that's not too big of a lift for you. So that might be a round 2, like run it the first time. And I think, Emily, you're right. People get very scared. Like, this gift showed up and it's a new supporter. I don't want to over ask. I think people fall on one side of that line or the other. They ask too much and they don't care. Or they ask too infrequently because they're worried they don't want to turn somebody off. Data shows over and over again that the best time to ask somebody to make another action is right after they've taken an action. So 20 days, man, you make that next ask and see what happens. Measure it. Your mileage may vary, but you could be very pleasantly surprised by how many people actually take that next step and become a sustainer or make a second gift. And acknowledge that that's what you're asking. Don't say make a donation to a new donor. Say make another donation. Like, they want to know that you're paying attention to them.
And I always say that if somebody is going to get angry at you because you asked for another donation, they're probably not going to be a longtime supporter of the organization. They're probably not committed to the nonprofit online fundraising model. And so we don't really need them around.
You're very future oriented. I think most of us are like, they're here, I just need to keep them here. And I'm not doing a good job at my job if they leave. But frankly, people make first gifts to organizations all the time and fade away. That is not necessarily a reflection on the strength of your program. It could tell you some things, but you might be running acquisition campaigns and finding not the right people.
Great.
Short-term supporters.
And do we need to keep them around on our list? Probably not. And that's okay.
Yeah. So, Emily, you have to come back. So as we're wrapping it up, I'm already like, when can I have her come back? So I know you're busy, but we will find the right topic and the right time. I did put a link into your Good to Greater email best practices download. So people grab that. Emily, any last words of advice on series, or just engaging our supporters a little bit more efficiently or effectively?
This is the time to move the welcome series to the top of your to-do list. Thanks, Stephanie. I love it too.
Yeah, that's right. And she's had it in many of her different homes. So I've seen it behind her for years. And I don't know if you go shopping for books specifically for color or if it's just how it worked out, but it is great.
This was such a special treat, Maureen. Thank you so much. My week this way.
And as we wrap it up, I'll just let folks know I am actually not going to be live next Friday because I'm participating in a panel for the Virtuous Responsive Nonprofit Summit about nonprofit technology. So I will pop that link in after the videos process. If you want to meet me over there, it's totally free to register. Really great content for a couple days next week. So Emily, love to you and your family and your beautiful baby, and our paths will cross very soon. Thanks so much for taking the time today.
Bye. Happy weekend. Thanks, Maureen.
See you soon. Bye, everybody.